ass, you calling that the devil? She ain't nothing but an employee.
It's literally shattered everything that I've tried to build after doing that work in my life. If I have always said when I was a kid, I never would want to regret anything.
Seems to be Jay-Z being attacked in the elevator by Beyonce's sister Solange. It's leading on all the newscasts. Of course, it's a hot topic here, but it's amazing how the world has let go of everything else important.
Jaguar Wright tried to warn the world, and nobody listened. Long before folks started throwing side eyes at Beyoncé and Jay-Z, Jaguar was out here dropping names and spilling tea that had people shook. Or at least, it should have had them shook. She talked about secretive rituals, control tactics, and the shady stuff artists are told to keep their mouths shut about. But what happened? Most people wrote her off. They called her bitter, laughed her off like she was just mad for no reason. Now, some of that so-called nonsense she was talking about is starting to line up. And guess what? Jaguar wasn't alone. Beyoncé's own drummer, Kimberly Thompson, came forward with some wild claims too. She filed a restraining order and said she was under spiritual attack. Like, who says that unless something deep is going on? That's not just drama, that's next level fear. And then there's Solange. Beyonce's sister didn't do much talking, but she didn't need to. She let her actions speak loud when she went off in that elevator. Then she just disappeared from the spotlight like nothing happened. But when you line up what Jaguar said, what Kimberly lived through, and all the strange energy floating around that tight circle, Solange's silence, it don't sound like peace. It sounds like fear. Think about it. Go back to that elevator moment in 2014, the Met Gala after party at the Standard Hotel in New York. Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Solange step into the elevator, and boom! Out of nowhere, Solange just snaps. TMZ got the footage, and it was wild. She screamed, she punched, kicked, even smacked him with her purse so hard the stuff flew out all over the floor. A bodyguard jumped in, trying to hold her back, but she kept coming at Jay like she'd had enough. Jay-Z, he didn't fight back. And Beyoncé just stood there, still, silent, watching. Even the bodyguard hit that emergency stop button mid-fight. Not to protect them, but probably to keep the footage from leaking. But it was too late. When that grainy video hit the internet, the whole industry froze. At the time, they tried to brush it off, saying Solange was mad about Jay-Z, but now it looks like something way deeper was going on. Cheating on Beyoncé? Yeah, everybody thought it was just about Becky with the good hair. That catchy line from Lemonade took over the internet.
She was hypnotized. She was. Beyonce came and she was in there eating on her and while she was asleep. No snacking on his.
And folks ran with it. But let's be real. That storyline doesn't explain the real drama anymore. Think about it. If Solange went off in that elevator purely out of sisterly rage, ready to throw hands to defend Beyonce, then why has she disappeared from her life completely? Where's Solange now? Nowhere close. She wasn't on the Renaissance tour. She's not popping up in family pics. She ain't been seen with Blue Ivy, Rumi, or Sir in years. And when Beyonce gave that Grammy acceptance speech for Renaissance, thanking her husband, her kids, even her uncle, Solange's name, nowhere in sight. So the real question is, what actually went down in that elevator? What did Solange know? And why has she stayed dead silent for nearly a decade? When you start piecing it together, the silence, the body language, the public distance, it doesn't look like just a heated moment anymore. That fight looks more and more like a warning that nobody paid attention to. Maybe Solange tried to stand up back then. Maybe she saw something behind those doors. And when she realized how fast that machine shut her out, she backed off for good. She ain't defending Beyonce anymore. She's keeping her distance. And in a world full of headlines and drama, that kind of silence, it screams louder than any statement. That elevator moment didn't just put Jay-Z in the spotlight, it cracked open the whole Knowles Carter brand. And let's be honest, if that elevator attack was only about cheating, would Solange really vanish like that? Would she skip family birthdays, award shows, major world tours, everything? That kind of fallout usually happens when someone saw too much and made a choice to walk away. Now, fast forward nearly 10 years, and the silence feels familiar, because now it's Beyoncé's turn to face the heat, and she's staying quiet too.
Plane just after taking off for Florida in perfect weather suddenly plummeted to the ground. Investigators now saying one of the engines apparently failed. Along with 8 passengers, Aaliyah.
As Diddy's empire crumbles under federal investigations, lawsuits, and survivor stories stacking up left and right, Beyoncé has said nothing. No post, no comment, no statement, nothing. And people are noticing. That silence is hitting different this time, especially because it's not coming from haters. It's coming from the Bayhive. These are die-hard fans, the same ones who've always had her back, and now they're asking, where's the woman who stood tall for women's rights? Where's the voice that once echoed empowerment? Let's not forget, Beyoncé built her image on female power. Remember the 2014 VMAs? She stood in front of that huge, glowing feminist sign. She's featured women's rights speeches in her music. She's led campaigns for black girls, working moms, and female artists. But where is that Beyoncé now? While women, Cassie, Jane Doe 1, 2, and 3, are stepping forward, naming Diddy, one of her longtime industry friends, as their abuser, Beyoncé stays silent. And don't get it twisted. Her and Diddy, they go way back. These two have shared stages, parties, and private circles for decades. Joint shows, private parties, invite-only circles. Beyoncé and Diddy didn't just bump into each other at industry mixers. Their worlds were tied tight. Their empires overlapped through Rock Nation, Revolt, Bad Boy Records, and Live Nation. These weren't casual links. Beyoncé was a guest of honor at Diddy's events. Jay-Z didn't just show up. He helped build the very empire Diddy thrived in. So when people say her silence is disappointing, let's call it what it really is. Strategic. It's about guarding the brand, keeping the billion-dollar image intact. And Jay-Z, he's been just as quiet. No interviews, no statements, nothing. But make no mistake, his fingerprints are all over the same system that let Diddy move unchecked for years. Jay and Diddy weren't just peers, they were partners in the spotlight. They crafted this polished image of black excellence. Designer suits, champagne dreams, power plays, Super Bowl sidelines, but beneath the glam, it was all protected by a culture of silence. That silence kept Diddy safe, and now it's keeping Beyoncé quiet too, which takes us right back to Solange. Maybe she saw it first. Maybe she realized early on that being close to power meant playing by their rules. Her stepping back wasn't about drama. It was survival. She didn't want to be trapped in the same hush-hush environment. Because in that circle, one rule rules all. Don't speak. Don't call anyone out. Protect the image at all costs. And if you do speak, like Solange did for those few seconds in that elevator, you get iced out, period. So maybe she walked away, not because she stopped loving Beyoncé, but because she couldn't stomach what her sister had become part of. If Solange saw something and chose silence, someone else broke it. Kimberly Thompson. Kimberly wasn't just some random person looking for attention. She was in the room, Beyoncé's drummer for 7 years. She toured the world with her, rehearsed with her, performed right by her side. She was part of that all-female band that helped craft Beyoncé's global girl power image. But in 2018, Kimberly broke ranks and shattered the illusion. She didn't just disappear quietly. She filed a restraining order. Court documents, obtained by The Blast, show Kimberly accused Beyoncé of using what she called extreme witchcraft, dark magic, and spells of sexual manipulation. She even claimed her phones were tapped, her finances tampered with, and said her kitten was unloved, which some believe hinted at something darker. These weren't casual accusations. They came from someone inside the core, someone who had seen the inner workings up close. And just like Solange, once Kimberly spoke up, she vanished from the narrative. Back then, most folks laughed it off. The media treated Kimberly Thompson's claims like some wild tabloid mess. The courts didn't grant her restraining order, said there wasn't enough evidence. Case closed, right? Not so fast. Because Kimberly wasn't just some random voice in the crowd. She was the first to speak from inside Beyoncé's circle, and her claims didn't come out of thin air. Back in a 2016 interview, Kimberly even admitted she couldn't change her hairstyle without Beyoncé's approval. That's not just management, that's full-on control. She described how Beyoncé ran everything, every single visual, every detail, and even how the people around her looked. That kind of grip, it doesn't stop with appearances. Not in an industry where silence gets paid, careers are molded behind velvet curtains and loyalty. Sometimes it feels deeper than just business, almost spiritual. Then came Jaguar Wright. She'd already stirred the pot by calling out the dark secrets of the music industry. But when she dropped Beyoncé's name into the mix, everything Kimberly had said suddenly felt real again, like puzzle pieces snapping into place. Jaguar didn't mince words. She didn't say, maybe. She didn't throw around allegedly. She straight up said Beyoncé was using witchcraft and destroying lives. Most people brushed her off as unstable. But here's the kicker. Jaguar has been right before. She was one of the first to call out Diddy publicly. Long before the lawsuits and headlines exploded, she warned people about Clive Davis, about the Smith family, about what went down at those secretive industry parties. And now that the truth is spilling everywhere, folks are running back to her old interviews and realizing maybe she wasn't so crazy after all. Suddenly, Kimberly's accusations don't sound so far-fetched, especially when Jaguar is telling the same story. And when you add Solange into the mix, her quiet exit, her total separation from Beyoncé, it starts looking like something spiritual pushed her away, something she couldn't talk about, maybe something she wasn't allowed to say. This ain't just sibling distance. It looks a lot more like fear. Now it's not just one woman talking, it's a whole pattern. Solange walked away. Kimberly tried to take it to court. Jaguar keeps dropping bombshells. And then, enter Uncle Ron, Beyoncé and Jay-Z's former bodyguard. Not a troll, not a clout chaser. This was the man they trusted with their lives. He was at the houses, the rehearsals, the events nobody else had access to. He was the eyes and ears behind closed doors, the kind of witness who's never supposed to speak. But Uncle Ron did speak, and he didn't tiptoe around it. He came right out and said it. Aaliyah's death? That wasn't no accident. And here's where things really get dark. Uncle Ron dropped a bomb that shook everyone. He claimed Jay-Z had a romantic relationship with Aaliyah before Beyoncé. Yeah, you heard that right. And according to him, it ended when Aaliyah refused to play the same game Beyoncé agreed to play. The rumors have been swirling for years. People always side-eyed the timing of Aaliyah's death back in 2001. A last-minute flight on an overloaded plane? Just days after filming a music video? The whole thing never sat right. And now, with Uncle Ron's statement, it's lining up with what fans have whispered for decades, that Aaliyah didn't just leave the spotlight, she got pushed out when she wouldn't fall in line. And this theory, it ain't sounding like fantasy anymore. It's looking more like a pattern of people who got too close to the throne and either vanished, got silenced, or had their careers destroyed. Take Carrie Hilson. Remember her? She was on the rise, talented, stunning, with the kind of star power that could have rivaled Beyoncé. Then she released Turnin' Me On, and fans thought it threw shade at Queen Bee right after that. Her whole career tanked. She was blackballed, cyberbullied, and publicly dragged. She never came out and said Beyoncé was behind it, but honestly, she didn't need to. The message was loud and clear. She crossed a line and paid for it. Another promising black woman, silenced before she even reached her peak. And when you connect the dots, Jaguar Wright's stories, Kimberly Thompson's court filings, Uncle Ron's behind-the-scenes intel, it stops sounding like gossip and starts looking like receipts. Even Aaliyah's death, it's carrying new weight in this whole conversation. The idea that Jay-Z was close to her before Beyoncé isn't just some dusty rumor. It's resurfacing now alongside something even more disturbing. Jay-Z's name allegedly showing up on Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs. That's right, Epstein, the man known for trafficking and exploiting young women to serve the rich and powerful. So yeah, the questions just got darker. And yet, Beyoncé still hasn't said a thing. No post, no press release, no denial, just silence. But the people speaking out, Jaguar, Kimberly, Uncle Ron, they're not going quiet. If anything, the more that comes out in court, the more serious their voices are starting to sound. Solange has never publicly confirmed any of this, but her silence, it says everything. If she did see what Kimberly lived, or what Uncle Ron protected, or what Jaguar's been screaming for years, then yeah, maybe she didn't just walk away for peace. Maybe she walked away for safety. Because in this industry, silence ain't weakness, it's protection. And too much truth, that can get you erased. Solange never did an interview. She never tweeted a shady lyric. She never liked a shady post. But you know what else she didn't do? She didn't pose in family pics. She didn't show up to the Renaissance tour. She didn't give shout-outs to Beyoncé or Jay-Z. She stayed away from it all. She didn't play the game because she saw the game. She saw what happened when people got too close to Beyoncé, to Jay-Z, to Diddy. She saw careers ruined, artists mocked, drummers dragged into court, songwriters blacklisted, and insiders dropping dead or straight up vanishing. And she wasn't going to be the next one. So while the world was clapping for Beyoncé and Jay-Z, calling them power couple goals, Solange made a different move, distance. And now we're finally seeing why. Whew! If that didn't shake you, nothing will. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Juicy Scoop TV, where we keep the tea hot and the truth louder than the lies.